Okay. You can start now, Ishwar. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So, yeah, hope you're all doing well. I know we've just had our first snow day where I'm living in Birmingham, so I hope everything's good for you guys. But yeah, we'll get started with the session first. I'll just share some slides I've put together briefly. So yeah, hopefully you can all see my screen. Give me a shout if you can't see anything. So yeah, firstly, to just give a brief overview of the slides to start with, I've thrown in a bunch of animations to keep it interesting for you on a Sunday morning. But yeah, there might be a bit pixely if the bandwidth isn't great. So I think a good point to start off with is if I turn my camera off for a while to save some bandwidth. But yeah, if you have any questions, I guess we'll save it for after the presentation. But to start off with, I'll give you a bit of a background about myself. I think it'll give a good understanding of my journey and how I applied to unis and later on jobs, I guess. But to start off with, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Like any storyteller, I was born in India and in a place called Kadapa, which is in Andhra Pradesh. And yeah, I started off my education there, and I moved here around 15 years ago when I was 7 years old. So it was a bit of a transition, and I flew straight to Birmingham, where I've lived for almost like, yeah, over 10, 15 years. So it's been interesting, and it was a big transition at the time. So the reason I'm saying all of this is when you get to university applications or even applications for general jobs or any roles that you apply for, it's good to share your experiences because your experiences are what make you unique and what build you up. So that's why I'm sharing all of this so that I can refer to them later. So don't think that it's just random oversharing or anything like that. But so yeah, I've done all of my education, well, all of my key education, I would say, in Birmingham. So I started off in a primary school here, and it was interesting because obviously I didn't know English before I moved here, but I didn't really practice it. So it was quite hard to pick up the communication skills when I first moved here, but everyone was supportive, and it kind of, I guess it's the same whether you were born in India or born here. Like primary school is a key part of where you build your communication skills and how you interact with others. So it does kind of shape you. And then I studied at King Edward Aston, which is a grammar school in Birmingham, and it was very different to my primary school, especially because it was a boys' school. So like it is quite different to what other schools are like. Not just that it's a grammar school, but it's a boys' school, and the way it shapes your behavior and your approach to things is very unique. And again, you might go to a completely different school, like you would be. You might go to academy school or comprehensive or grammar school, anything, but it's about how what kind of challenges you face there and how you overcame those. It's things like that you would talk about in your applications, and what kind of opportunities were provided and how much of a good use you make of them. And obviously, like Uncle mentioned earlier, from here I went to LSE, which is a well-renowned university around the world for a bunch of courses, and it's just a great place to learn because of how diverse it is. But I'll tell you more about that later when I actually share my step-by-step process through each of these. Following on from my academic background, another key aspect of what makes a candidate for applications or a person in general is their interests and extracurriculars. So just to go over a bunch of brief ones that I've taken part in. First one being HSS, which is like a Hindu-based youth group. They do a lot of social service, and it's like a regular gathering of not just kids but adults as well in the local area. You get together. Sometimes you do prayers. You discuss ongoing topics, but the majority of it is playing games and doing like physical exercise activities, and it is quite fun. I would definitely recommend it if you haven't heard about it before by any chance. And the more traditional one that I got involved in is the RAF Air Cadets. I'm hoping you've heard about these. It's like the youth division of the RAF, and they give access to a lot of amazing opportunities like shooting, flying, gliding, loads of adventure activities, and it was just really fun at the time. But yeah, my brother kind of forced me into it because he loves the military stuff. But yeah, it is great fun as well. They give a lot of amazing opportunities. One being the Duke of Edinburgh Award. Again, yeah, please excuse the animations. I just thought I'd make it interesting for you guys. And the Duke of Edinburgh, it might not be for everyone. It just gives an opportunity to explore a lot of different kind of volunteering talents, or even exploring, where you do expeditions and do camping for a few nights and days. But I loved it, and I did all three of them. And I don't know how much it helps for university applications, as in, it's not as if they see Duke of Edinburgh Gold and they're like, okay, this is the guy we want in the uni. It's not that kind of situation. It's more like it gives you things to talk about in your interviews or personal statements. And yeah, essentially, the best way to put it, I would say, is obviously everyone's going through the same kind of academic pipeline. So all of the extracurriculars are interest. They're not required in any way, but everything you put, it's what makes you unique during the application process. And standing out is very important during these applications, because obviously they're getting thousands and thousands of applications and each reviewer probably goes through hundreds of them in a single day. So anything that can make you stand out or show certain skills that they're looking for, whether that be in university applications or even professional roles, these really help you stand out. And that's why I'm emphasizing how important they are for your applications. And it's not just extracurriculars. It's not just, obviously there's sports as well. I didn't mention that in these slides because I couldn't find a cool photo for them. No, but like these were my primary interests. But so first things being films, it's a huge part of my bringing and what like my interests are. I love movies, how not just watching them, but how they're made and how they perform. I don't know, I'm just a fanatic about that. So yeah, I definitely mentioned that in a lot of applications sometimes. Even in my personal statement, the opening line was like a movie quote. So it just kind of brings your personality and shares a bit about yourself. And the key thing, actually, I'll cover some more of these before I mention that, but another key interest is photography. And the last one being exploring the world. And these kind of fit in well with each other. So I guess I explore and do photography at the same time. So it's kind of shoehorning both together. But the reason I'm saying that these interests are very important is I've heard several scenarios where in interviews, like 80% of the interview or a certain like major proportion of it might just be about your interests, because the interviewer might have something in common while you're addressing that, and the whole discussion could be about that. Like I've just heard, I think a friend told me recently that one of her interviews was mostly about airarchy, and that's where you just talk about planes that you spot or know about. It's quite a common thing for some people in a certain bubble. I know nothing about it, but the majority of her interview for a different role in engineering was about that, because they had that common interest. So it could always help when you share these and make that bond with whoever you're trying to approach. And there's also a really good skill in terms of networking. And I don't know if you would have heard that term much at this stage, but it comes up a lot in university and later in life. Networking is a huge part of how you build your circle. So sharing your extracurriculars and interests is a big part of that. So I'd say always try to stay as active as you can, but keeping your academic progression as the main focus. Yeah. And then moving on, I guess this is probably where the main part of the presentation starts. So everyone has their own journey, their own interests. So this is just the way I went through my phase. And the first stage, I guess it's very similar for a lot of people with like Indian parents. I don't know, you might have heard it at some point, like one of your parents say, why don't you become a doctor, or you should do this, you should do medicine at uni. And I was the same. My mum really wanted me to do medicine, but I knew at an early stage, maybe around year 8 or 9, that wasn't the way I was going to go. Just like, I don't know, it just didn't seem like the lifestyle for me. But it's a great profession, obviously, everyone knows. And then moving on from there, I thought, okay, civil engineering, this is the one for me. I thought I was fixed on it. I knew I wanted to. I already started looking at unis, and this was in year 10, so I was really enthusiastic about it. But then I did work experience in that area, and I did that for 3 or 4 weeks in between my GCSEs and A levels. And I kind of hated it, to be honest. So it's really good to get experience or do any work experience in any career you're kind of fixed on, because you won't know until you've actually tried it. So after trying it, I did kind of dislike it. But the good thing is, during my work experience, I did a kind of a few rotations around all of the departments. And I realized, okay, I kind of like the coding aspect and the finance side of things. I didn't really like the actual civil engineering or structural engineering aspects of the job. And so I kind of quickly dropped out from civil engineering as well and moved on to game designing, actually. I know it seems like a bit of a jump, but obviously, I don't know if it's the same for you. A lot of people during that age group love games, and I still love games. I still love playing games. But I was really interested in this for a brief period amount of time. Like, I enjoyed the coding aspect of things and design from the civil engineering things. So it just seemed like, yeah, really interesting avenue to explore. But then I looked into kind of like the salaries and the workloads. It just didn't seem appealing at the time. So I kind of briefly moved on from there as well to lastly, yeah, I wanted to become an actor. No, I'm just joking. So there's actually a photo where Leonardo DiCaprio plays a stockbroker. So what I'm trying to get to is like, I wanted to go into the finance sector. And I hope none of you know this movie, because I'm pretty sure you're not old enough to watch it yet. But yeah, so finance really seemed appealing because of the subjects I was good at and the salaries and the work-life balance. And a lot of though obviously the stockbroker or investment banker roles, they're kind of crazy in terms of work-life balance. There's several other roles in the finance industry. So those are what I found appealing. And this is kind of the space I'm working in right now. So I kind of didn't know about this, didn't know I wanted to go into this until uni. I know a lot of people kind of have things figured out early on during sixth form or even earlier for some people, which is great if you know what you want to do. But if you're like me and you don't want to know, and if you don't know, it's better to keep things open, which is where I think the next slide is, choosing my subjects. So when you're not sure what you want to do next, it's the best way to go about it is picking the subjects you're good at and picking the subjects you like. It's all about striking a balance with that and keeping all of your options open. So these were the subjects I did. And the first one's being GCSE. So obviously I picked these having civil engineering in mind, but I wouldn't say picking these closed any other roles for me. So that was really good. And because when I changed my mind during sixth form, it didn't close up any other roles. And when I got to A levels, I actually loved my A levels because I enjoyed the subjects I was doing, and I was kind of good at them, to be honest. So I really enjoyed it. Even the EPQ, even though it was kind of a pain. I'm not sure if EPQ is still a thing for you guys. It's a research project where you kind of decide your own topic and do your own research about it. Even though it's not expected from the universities, it gives you a lot of key points that you can discuss in your interviews and applications. So that's why I find it really useful. Yeah. And coming to the main part where you're all at, I think that kind of sums up my journey up until what stage you're in at the moment, which is university applications. So these were the universities I applied for, and the key thing that I want you to notice is that I put the course before the uni names, and that was intentional. But I'll come on to that in the next slide, where we can talk about each step that you should be doing. So this kind of sums up my journey, and I guess if you have any questions you want to ask me about my journey specifically, I guess we could do that after the presentation. But yeah, so the first step to picking uni is picking the course. And the reason, I know it sounds simple, but a lot of people kind of do it in the wrong order. And they're like, I want to study at this institution, let's see what courses they have. Or I want to stay local, so let's just see what courses are near me. And I would definitely say that's not the right way to do it. The key thing is look at the subjects. So obviously you might already know the career path you're looking at. And the first thing, like I said earlier, is do some work experience on that, because you won't know if it's if it's the right fit for you until you actually go into the office, or I don't know, at this point it might be work from home for even that. So you might do it online, but until you try it out, you won't know if it's the right career. Because even at uni, I did some work experience as an investment analyst for 2 months. And again, it just didn't seem right. So yeah, just try things out and you'll find out what the right career path is for you eventually. It's not everyone guesses it on the first go. In fact, even if you don't guess it right, those experiences kind of help you out going forward as well. So there's no loss or in any way. But yeah, to start off with, pick the right course for you. So the best way to do this is obviously look at the subjects you're doing at A-level. So this could go 2 ways. Either you just keep picking the subjects you like and you're good at and base the course off what's right from those. Or obviously you could have picked your A-level courses based off what you want to do at uni. And in that case, I would say just pick the subjects which keep things as open as possible. So maths is a great one because it's a requirement for a lot of courses if you're at that stage. But yeah, coming to the course, the best thing to do here is a lot of research and seeing what kind of courses align well with your A-levels. And I guess when you study your A-levels, you'll know what subjects you like and what topics in each subject you like. So you might have an interest about learning more about certain things. So for me, I was really good at maths during my A-levels. I enjoyed it. I was performing well and I enjoyed the problem solving aspects and the applications it has. So that's what motivated me to look into courses to do with that. And but the primary reason was I didn't know which career I was going to, like I wasn't fixed on it during my application. So mathematics is a very good degree where you have where it's very open in terms of your career prospects. So that's one of the main reasons I picked maths. And obviously, I think if you had a proper look into the courses and unis I applied for, I applied for computer science as well, and I applied for a bunch of variations in the course. So yeah, that's another thing to look into. There's a lot of variations and a lot of avenues of each course. So you might do financial maths, you might do statistics, or you can do pure maths, which I don't see as the right one for me at the time. At least I wouldn't recommend it as much because I was very much focused on applications and real world prospects from the course and the content I learned. So, and moving on, once you kind of know the right kind of courses, that's when you look into the university. So this is when the leaderboard, the university leaderboards are really useful. And the reason I'm saying that is not because I want you to pick the top 5 unis for the course. That's not the good way to go about it. I don't know if your school's already had discussions about these with you yet, but so you get 5 choices at this stage. And the recommended approach is you pick 2 aspirational universities, and the first 2, those are kind of like, so you'll have your predicted grades hopefully at this point, and it's kind of what grade, which institutions would be great and which kind of seem reachable, but obviously because they're such good institutions, it's not like you're going to get an unconditional offer from them straight away because of how competitive they would be potentially. And the third university, as third and fourth, are kind of like, okay, they're good options, they're good institutions, and you definitely meet their prerequisites. And the last university is a safe option, and this is one where you're very confident you'll get the admission, and it's kind of the one you're hoping for an unconditional offer, essentially. So that's kind of how you should pick the universities. So pick the course, look at the leaderboards, try to place these around that leaderboard. And yeah, it's not good to put like 5 aspirationals because you never know what might happen during the exam, and you never know even in the application process, because there might be interviews that don't go the way you think. There might be admission exams that turn out to be harder than what you expected during that time. And this happened to me as well. So coming on to the third point, especially for entrance exams. So the Oxford application that I put in had a maths exam that I had to do, and it was much harder than I remember. And I would still say it's probably quite challenging even after doing maths at university, because yeah, I guess I just wasn't prepared for it at that time. And yeah, this is one thing. So once you know your universities, that's when you start preparing your personal statement and preparing for any other exams that are relevant to that university. And this is what I've kept for last, because your personal statement is in some cases the only part of the applications. For LSE, that is the main part of the application that takes up like 5 stages of the process. The first stage just being that you meet the basic requirements, but especially for LSEs, because it's such an international university where 80% of the students are from other countries almost, that the interview process, it would be quite challenging to communicate with that many people in such a short span of time. I guess they just don't have the infrastructure in place. So their key focus is about personal statements. And that personal statement goes through 4 or 5 reviews on a department level, on an admissions level, on a course level. So loads of people read through that, and you have to make it through each stage to make it to the final offer. And that's also the similar case for a lot of other universities. So the personal statement, I would say, is the most important thing in your application, apart from being like meeting the prerequisites. Obviously, that could be like a B in English, B in maths, and obviously you should be on target to reach the A-level grades they ask for. So that's the initial screening. But after that, this is the main part. And I know some universities, they have exams, so that's also a key part. But the common point is the personal statement. It's about how, like I was saying earlier, how you stand out from all the other applicants. And that's why it's so important, because they get thousands of applications per place almost in a lot of courses. Yeah, so that kind of gives a brief summary of applying to uni, my journey, and how I would recommend that you approach the whole application process. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the animations and the presentation. But I'll stop screencasting now, and I'll stop the recording so we can get on to any questions that you might have about the course or anything.